quite a competitive environment in South Africa, because it feels like with your merger, you've consolidated a lot of things and with a very strong and clear kind of fresh look on things. But there have been other companies that have been doing similar things over the years. Are you catching up, or are you bringing a lot better new ideas or innovative ideas?
Certainly, I think the merger, provided an enormous quantum leap to both Momentum and Metropolitan. All of a sudden, we started to operate on a totally different scale. From a size point of view, but also from a market segment point of view. All of a sudden, we operated across the entire market, from the lower end of the market to the upper end of the market. So, quantum leap there. And I guess now that the merger is behind us now, I guess the major focus area will be to accelerate growth, but to adopt this client-centric model, and then really to maintain excellence in everything we do, with cost management, but also with the way we service clients so that they get the positive experiences across the group.
It sounds like you're ticking all the right boxes there. One of the issues is always BEE compliance. Now the DTI announced new measures, pulled them back. What's happening there? It seems quite confusing.
Yeah, I must say it's a challenging environment. I guess we're very pleased that there seems to be more clarity now around the broad-based BEE component, in particular, that caused a lot of uncertainty. We're very proud of our, partnership with KTH, MMI Holdings. They own 7% of the MMI group, and they certainly have a very big broad-based component. So we're very much in favor of the broad-based empowerment. Maybe I can also just say that, under the previous DTI codes, we did a lot of work, and we eventually achieved level 2 contributor status. And in fact, based on the ranking between all the insurance group, second best in the insurance industry from a transformation point of view. So I think we've achieved certain major milestones there, but I guess you're right, the new DTI codes are very, very stretching, and with again a new set of hurdles. But I guess if you take a view that you sort of set yourself quarterly or annual targets that are achievable, then over time you can make a big difference.
Big things like getting people into positions of key positions, like I think, am I right in saying Mary Vilakazi is moving into the financial director position? That must be quite a big accomplishment. I mean, is it?
Yeah, certainly we're actually very proud of our executive committee. Mary Vilakazi used to be a non-executive director at the MMI Holdings level, and some 2 years ago we started a conversation, and she's still young, she's still less than 40 years old. And I said, listen, Mary, whenever you're ready, why don't you assume an executive role? And she started as a CFO first, and now she'll assume the group finance director role. She used to be a partner at PwC earlier in her career, so she's got very good experience and insurance group knowledge. So we're really looking forward to her contribution in this new role of hers. Yeah.
Now, Africa's insurance penetration rate stood at 3.5% in 2013, and insurance services amounted to 1% of Africa's GDP. You guys are operating in about 12 countries. It must be a big goal to try and push those numbers up.
Yeah, certainly. I think Africa's got enormous potential. As you say, the penetration 1% of GDP, and South Africa is probably between 10 and 12% of GDP. So can you imagine if we achieve those kind of penetration levels over time? The enormous upside. I think the big opportunity in Africa is the rising middle class. The growing middle class, most of the economies in Africa where we operate, outside South Africa, have very fast growth rates. In East Africa with, say, Kenya as a hub, and West Africa with Nigeria as another hub. I think there's a lot of potential, but it's very important that companies should be patient. This is not going to happen within 1 or 2 years. It's a medium, longer term play. Yeah. Personally, I think it's a 5 to 10 year play. But certainly, as we expand the product ranges and we penetrate more markets, and I guess we export client centricity, that we really meet the needs of clients in those markets, I think there's a lot of potential for traction.
It seems like everyone in South Africa is paying a lot more attention, taking Africa beyond our borders a lot more seriously. So it seems very exciting. And as you said, that patience game is very important, and also probably understanding and knowing the different environments. That it's not like South Africa, it's different out there. How does that work?
Yeah, I think what's very important is that Africa is not a uniform continent.
No.
Each country is different. So I think a couple of lessons that we've learned, you certainly can't come with your South Africa mindset and think you're going to operate there as a South Africa company and tell other businesses what to do or tell them what their needs should be. you need to change it around completely. Firstly, you have to get a local partner, somebody that understands the local dynamics. Then you have to get local people working for you, maybe with some South Africans, to add some skills. But certainly, it needs to over time be predominantly local in the various countries. And then you need to meet the needs of clients in those markets. And it's potentially vastly different, to meet the needs of clients in Nigeria compared to, for example, a Botswana. It's vastly different markets. But I guess if you get to more scale in the various countries and you diversify in various countries, there's a lot of potential.
Companies like Naspers, like Sanlam, these big old South African corporations have gone off to Asia and India, and MMI is no different. What is the trend about doing that, and how have you done that?
Yes. We're actually very excited about the prospects in India in particular. What we are doing there is we have partnered with the Aditya Birla Group, which is a group 10 times our size. It's a conglomerate, so they're not specialists in financial services. So we're taking our health and wellness skills, and we are going to roll that out in India in about a year's time. We're just going through the regulatory process now. But if you look at the Indian population of 1.2, 1.3 billion people, you actually have to penetrate a very, very small percentage of the market, and then you already get scale and traction. What's also interesting about India is, although they've got these huge numbers, really there's a shortage of specialist financial services skills. And they're very keen to partner South Africa companies, because there's huge examples of innovations in South Africa from a product point of view or from a client delivery point of view. And we actually plan to export some of those unique skills in South Africa there and to partner them and to get scale. So it's very, very, very exciting.